Your phone just died. You're standing in a line that hasn't moved in 10 minutes and you have absolutely nothing to do. No feed to scroll, no messages to check, just you, a wall, and the slow creeping horror of being bored. It's unbearable. You'd do almost anything to make it stop. Now, here's a thought that might make you feel better. Or worse, you probably imagine your distant ancestors never had this problem. Their lives were pure adventure, right? Hunting giant beasts, running from predators, fighting to survive every single day. No time to be bored. That is completely wrong. The truth is, your ancestors had far more free time than you do. Hours and hours of it, every single day. And they had none of the distractions you are desperate for right now. No phone, no music on demand, no book, no screen of any kind. Just a whole lot of empty time. And a brain that, exactly like yours, absolutely hated being understimulated. So how did they do it? How did early humans sit through tens of thousands of years of silence and stillness without completely losing their minds? The answer is stranger than you'd think. And it turns out to be the reason you have music, art, and every story ever told. Stick around for that. Let's go. Let's start by killing the biggest myth about ancient life, that it was all work. We picture our ancestors in a desperate, non-stop grind just to find enough food to survive. But when anthropologists actually went and lived with modern hunter-gatherer groups, people living much the way our ancestors did, they found something shocking. They barely worked. Studies of groups like the San people of the Kalahari found they spent only around 15 to 20 hours a week getting everything they needed to live. That's it. One anthropologist was so struck by this that he called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society. While you're grinding through a 40-hour week and then some, your ancestors had their survival sorted by Tuesday afternoon. Which sounds amazing, until you realize what it actually means. All that free time had to go somewhere. And when you strip away every modern distraction, hours of empty time isn't a vacation. It's a psychological problem. Because the human brain did not evolve to sit still and do nothing. It evolved to be fed a constant stream of stimulation. Take that away, and it starts to itch. So what even is boredom? It feels like nothing, an absence, an empty waiting. But inside your brain, it's anything but passive. Boredom is the deeply uncomfortable feeling of having mental energy with nowhere to put it. Your brain is a prediction machine that craves novelty, and when the world stops handing it anything new, it doesn't relax. It gets restless, agitated. It starts hunting for something, anything, to engage with. And here's the part that changes everything. That restless, itchy feeling is not a flaw. It's not your brain glitching. Boredom is a signal. And it might be one of the most important feelings your species ever evolved. Think about what boredom actually does to you. It makes sitting still and doing nothing feel unbearable, so it pushes you to get up and do something else, to explore, to try something new. A creature that felt perfectly content sitting in one spot forever would never wander to find new food, never build a better tool, never discover anything at all. Boredom is the quiet voice that says, "This isn't working, I'd go find something better." It is basically the engine of curiosity. So picture one of your ancestors, 100,000 years ago, hit with that exact feeling. The day's work is done. The sun is going down. There's nothing to do and hours to fill. What do they reach for? They don't have a phone, so they reach for the oldest entertainment technology on Earth, each other. They talked, and more specifically, they told stories. We actually have a window into this. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherers noticed that conversation completely changes depending on the time of day. In daylight, when people are working, the talk is practical and honestly kind of dull. Complaints, plans, who needs to do what. But at night, gathered around the fire, the whole mood shifts. The practical talk fades and the storytelling begins. Myths, legends, tales about people who weren't even there. Songs. In one study, around 80% of firelight conversation was stories. This was their television, their cinema, and their internet, all rolled into one, projected onto the inside of everyone's skull by a single person talking in the dark. A good storyteller wasn't just fun to listen to. They were the most valuable person in the group, holding the boredom of the entire tribe at bay with nothing but their voice. Think about that the next time you complain there's nothing good to watch. But talking was only the beginning. Because that same restless energy, that need to fill the silence, got poured into some of the most extraordinary things our species has ever made. They made music. In a cave in Germany, archaeologists found a flute carved from the wing bone of a vulture. It is roughly 40,000 years old, and it still works. Someone, 40,000 years ago, sat down and figured out how to turn a dead bird's bone into a machine for making empty air beautiful. That's not survival. You don't need music to eat or stay warm. That is a bored, brilliant human inventing a way to feel something. They made art. Deep inside caves, in France, in Indonesia, our ancestors painted herds of animals, hunting scenes, and their own handprints pressed onto the stone. Some of this art is over 40,000 years old, tucked into places so dark and deep you'd have to crawl for ages to reach them. Nobody forces you to paint a wall in the pitch black just to entertain yourself and whoever comes next. Nobody. Except boredom and wonder. And they played. Long before dice or board games, humans gambled with little bones, the ankle bones of animals, tossed to see who won. Games of luck and skill show up again and again across ancient cultures because a game does something almost magical. It takes empty time and fills it with stakes. Suddenly, you're not bored anymore. You're trying to win. Music, art, games, stories. Look at that list again, because that list is basically the foundation of all human culture, and every single thing on it exists, at least in part, because our ancestors could not stand being bored. Which brings us to a genuinely wild idea. We treat boredom like a problem to be deleted, but boredom might be one of the most creative forces in all of human history. Every great story, every song, every game, every invention, born from someone staring at a wall thinking, there has to be more than this. That's boredom, doing its job. The same signal, over and over, pushing humans to make something out of nothing. As one psychologist put it, boredom drives us to seek meaning. When the world gives us none, we're pushed to create it ourselves. There's even a theory that this is where language got its real workout. Apes bond by grooming each other, picking through fur for hours. But you can only groom one friend at a time. Humans, the idea goes, replaced grooming with talking, with gossip, chatting about who did what to whom. It let us bond with many people at once. And it filled those endless empty hours. So the next time you catch yourself deep in some pointless gossip, know that you might be doing one of the oldest, most human things there is. Boredom didn't hold our ancestors back. It drove them forward. It is not an accident that the one species with all that dangerous free time is also the species that painted, sang, built, and eventually reshaped the entire planet. In a strange way, boredom built the world. So, let's go back to you. Standing in that line, phone dead, quietly going out of your mind. That feeling you're having? It isn't new. It's one of the oldest feelings on Earth. That exact itch, the restless need for something, anything to happen, is the same signal that echoed through 100,000 years of firelit nights. It's the feeling that pulled the first song out of a hollow bone and pressed the first handprint onto a cave wall. Here's the only thing that's really changed. For almost all of human history, when that feeling hit, people had to make something to answer it. They told a story, they carved a flute, they started a game. Boredom pushed them to create. We fixed that. Now, the second you feel the itch, you can reach into your pocket and make it vanish in half a second, with an endless supply of things other people made, which is incredible. But it also means we almost never sit in that restless silence long enough for it to push us to build something of our own. So maybe boredom isn't the enemy. Maybe it's an invitation, the exact same one your ancestors kept saying yes to. The next time your phone dies and the silence creeps in, before you reach for something to fill it, just sit there for a second and see what your bored, brilliant, 100,000-year-old brain wants to do with it. I'm curious, what do you do when you're really, truly bored? The old way or the new way? Let me know down in the comments. Until then, see you soon.